rooftop hotel that tourism can go there and enjoy their time with their family. And this is the swimming pool, gym, another thing that reduce the depression by using the relaxation, water, and another thing for cure them. And the PhD thesis, if it's possible, I want to work on it in identity in architecture, the case of Iranian Islamic architecture and urbanism. Um, this is the study of ancient architecture, contemporary architecture, and identify that. For example, as I know, you know, actually, my country is a historical places. But today, by coming the modernism to our cities, we have the ancient layers of our cities, but all of the people build high buildings in these narrow streets or another thing, and it causes a problem actually in our country. Plan of my action study in ancient architecture, and this study divided to another category, Iranian and Islamic, and also I want to study a broad influence on contemporary architecture that includes the Iranian cities actually, and finding out the main structure of Iranian architecture and its identity. And after that, I want to access the presence of Iranian identity in contemporary architecture. Um, I want to finding out that is there any elements from ancient Iranian or Islamic architecture in the contemporary architecture of Iran or not. And this is some example of the Iranian cities. The first one is the Gur city, the 3rd of century of after Christians, and now is in Shiraz. As you see, the plan of the cities is completely different from today's. For example, it's a circular, and Bishabur city actually was another kind of urbanism plan in the Iranian, actually in ancient time, that showed some modular places. But by becoming Islam actually in our country, the urbanism of our architecture completely different because of some elements, because the Islam people just focus on the mosques and some places for the king. And as you see, this one is the Islamic cities that created in our country. Some neighbors, mosques, markets, as we say that bazaar, is a places that contains with many shops, and people can go there and doing some commercial places. And the land, farmland became in another places of the cities. But as you see in these pictures, and also the next one, by mixing the Iranian and Islam architecture in urbanism, actually the plan of urban completely changed. For example, there was created places for central Moscow, and this is became court, schools, the main town actually, and passes neighbors, centers, and also the market was a main elements in each Iranian cities. Um, in these cities, as you see, the cities divided to some main avenue, places for court, places, and all of them just created around the main way of the Iranian that we told them bazaar actually. I have planned to analyze these urbanism maps and finding out the main purpose of the Iranian Islamic places, and compare it with modern cities of such as Tehran and another thing. The problem that I want to show that in my PhD thesis is Iranian Islamic ancient cities had an identity that is being lost in this contemporary architecture and now building case cities actually. And the goal is that identity, the characteristics of Iranian Islamic ancient cities, for example, and all of these information that I collect from the library, this data, and also identity the contemporary cities such as Tehran, or I can choose another city. And after that, access how new cities and incorporate then ancient Iranian Islamic identity. Just finish.
Okay. Did you already talk with Sareloy about the structure of your PhD or not?
Yes, I talked about.
I guess that she probably told you that the typical approach that we have to this kind of problems is to try to understand a particular architectural language or context
Okay.
by developing first a shape grammar, which can, let's say, replicate the rules of the generation of that particular style or language, and then try to understand how those rules can be applied in our contemporary context, change the rules in order to accommodate contemporary needs, and then present a new language, which is the language that can, let's say, develop still the identity of a particular design language, but still adapt to the contemporary necessities. Okay, so this is a very rough way to put it, let's say, but it's basically the main approach that we have developed a few words on this subject. There are few issues in terms of the supervision that we can give here. I mean, there will be some people who are able to give you some aid on this, but the worst part is probably nobody is really into the Iranian Islamic architectural culture. So that you will have to provide us. You know, we will be learning from you. Okay. This will be a difficulty, but the first thing you really need is to pick up a very good set of case studies, things that can really be used as a corpus for analysis. Okay.
Yes.
And the definition of that corpus has to be done according to some criteria. They have to be really good examples of what you want to pursue. They really need to be, let's say, marks on what you call Iranian Islamic identity.
Okay.
But all the main difficulty in this kind of work is to try to understand what means to be to keep some identity within a contemporary culture. Okay, and this always brings some conflict, especially because what we call contemporary culture is very much moved by Western culture. Okay,
Yes.
and so these standards need to be really discussed in face of what is this Islamic identity. Okay, and sometimes we also have assumptions about what is probably this Islamic identity nowadays, but it's probably something else. Okay. Um, um, And although I have to say that I have a few Iranian friends that I met in Delft, so it's not something absolutely new to me. I had discussions on these topics, but still, it's very difficult for someone who's really outside the culture to be um, very much aware of what is, let's say, the good aspects of this identity, the bad aspects of the identity, the ones that fit today, the ones that not fit today, and all these things have to be discussed at some point. And you need to provide that evidence because you will be the one knowing that. Okay.
Okay.
And perhaps sometimes you should even discuss this with some Iranian friends of yours that can give you some insight on that. Yes.
I don't know if you cited in this law specifics theory, methodology.
No.
Sariloy also is a user of that methodology, so you can also talk further. I remember from the symposium, they have all the proceedings online and free. And there is several studies of Islamic cities using space syntax.
Yeah, there are a few
that identify in terms of special configuration, try to find normally space syntax gives you some hints about what is happening in the city in terms of spatial configuration. And they have interesting studies about the particularities of Islamic cities. So it can be a starting point.
Yes.
And it's a good approach because they don't touch the aesthetic aspects of the buildings, but more the special
configuration,
things like that. So it can be applied with any language. So you can also accommodate new contemporary architecture, maintaining some aspects of the organization of the cities. It can be interesting.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the first way I should do that is collecting many data from these.
Yeah.
And actually, first the Islamic cities, and then compare it with contemporary cities, and finding out some main, for example, elements from comparing that.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, understand.
Okay. Yeah.
Just a small comment about your first presentation. First, I saw a slide where you made some comments about modernism, some criticism about modernism.
Yes.
But I think your project, some of your solutions are founded on the same kind of solutions and principles of the modernism. So I don't understand it's not very clear the option that you did in terms of your solution. Relating the second part of the presentation about Iranian, this is very difficult to understand and to talk about. It's a very extended issue. Well, I think humans and cultures are not so different. And those examples that you brought here, I found some similarity, for instance, between this Islamic Iranian and some medieval or Roman settlements in Europe and also in Portugal, because also we have an heritage in terms of Islamic buildings and structures and urban settlements. Also, I think Victor told you about space syntax, which is a good way to find out some patterns. Also, there is also an interesting technology that you can search for, which is the about pet things.
Okay.
How's the time? We should move to the next presentation, right? Yeah, okay. So that's what we've done. Okay. In the meantime, while we change, and now that everyone's here, I think it would be nice for everyone to present himself because some people don't know each other. Okay. Stefan, can you start? Just presenting yourself. Okay, we're going around so that everyone knows each other. Okay. From here, you just say who you are and what you're doing. Okay.
I'm thinking in front of the camera. My name is Stefan, and I'm doing a PhD here, and it's about actually it's about it's focused at analyzing human cells in Portugal, and I'm focused about the dispersed characteristics.
Precisas de um adaptador, não é? É, um adaptador, uma saída HDMI. Acho que nós não temos nada disso. Stefano, do we have any adapter from VGA to HDMI?
No, I didn't have it with me.
So maybe you
Would you like to use my computer? Yeah, quero usar
You
uma
need
computer.
you have a VGI here. No, you don't have VGI. Where you
No,
have?
yeah, I don't have.
Where you, what? You have HDMI. No, no.
No, it's okay. I can use another computer.
maybe you use another computer.
Yeah.
We could, I cannot give you mine because it's a link to everything.
Wait for me. Louis, can you present yourself?
Well, hello everyone. For you, I think you're the young one who don't know me yet. My name is Rui. I'm also here doing a PhD, and I'm working on the relationship between shape grammars and ontologies as knowledge bases to try to generate design solutions with meaning. So it's meaningful design systems, generative design systems.
Okay, that's my turn. I'm David, or David, if you wish. I'm an assistant professor here at the university. And I do two types of research. One is connected with travel, so travel behavior, and try to understand the importance of those environment. I'm going to give a presentation this afternoon about that. But the second one is more related with planning, when translating development.
Okay, I'm Bruno, also a professor here. And I guess I don't have research field very well defined, so I like to know things.
Sim, sim, ok. Força.
Okay.
You already microfone.
Present yourself. Fernando.
Eu? My name is Fernando. I'm a Brazilian PhD study. Actually, I study in Rio de Janeiro. And I'm here for a year of study, and I wish that I can finish my research here and do my best. And Professor Nuno is supervising me, and I'm just trying to put forward the work that I present now.
Okay, it's my turn. I'm José Leão. I'm a professor here at the faculty, and now recently, due to the leave of José Pinto, let's say the head of this design and computation group, and then that's enough. That's enough for that.
Well, my name is Débora. I am a PhD student here. I'm here I think 1 year. Yeah. And I am studying Brazilian slums and how we can I'm working with 3D scan and ShapeGram. I'm going to present my message.
Okay.
My name is Ursula. I come from Lithuania and I'm here less than 2 weeks now. Yes, and I will be working on also computational methods for the studies of coding spaces and antibiotic.
I'm Vitor Ferreira. I'm a teacher here, and my research is focused on heritage documentation, 3D scanning, modeling, everything that is related to surveying the built environment and to drawing it or modeling it in some way. Also, during some years, I studied, I used space syntax, so I also have some knowledge on that. So normally I give some hints about it. Now I have stopped a bit because it's too much things to do at the same time. So I'm focusing on the 3D modeling documentation.
My name is Mateus. I'm also an assistant professor in the faculty. And as Victor, I'm working on basically on the built environment documentation, photogrammetry, laser scanning.
Hello, my name is Daniel Mateus, and I'm working on my PhD that is relating to the energy area with the design area in natural sense, trying to integrate the energy thematic inside the design thematic. And particularly, I'm studying the case study in that thematic, the digital design and the fabrication of building envelopes that have the ability to generate electrical energy.
My name is Francesco Ossi. I'm a PhD student working on issues with dispersion first, and large-scale analysis are implied in this work, network analysis, and we both share kind of the same case studies with Stefano. I'm working on a large scale, he's working on a small scale with a lot of two projects, one in Portugal about densities and dispersion, and one in Italy about industrial developments. Okay, Fernando.
Okay, it's my turn. Hello, everybody. As I said, my name is Fernando, and I'm here to study and to develop some kind of stuff related to transit-oriented development and algorithmic modeling. And that's what I'm going to present here is a kind of what I left, the state that my work is now. The main theme of my work is based on to understand transit-oriented development, and so as well to study and to research about algorithmic modeling in a way that I think that my research can be explained by this. So we've got transit-oriented development, that it's a urban development model, and algorithmic modeling. My research is based on the intersection by these two areas, let's say, like that. So what I'm trying to do is to manage and to understand in a better way how to manage some kind of principles and some kind of features of thought that are mainly measurable. As they are measurable, we can apply it in a system. It's not about doing a system that you start with an input and then you have an output that's a city. Okay, oh, it's okay, it's ready. No, not about it, but it's about an approach. It's about a method of realizing things and putting things together and to work with big kinds of big data and this kind of stuff. So I guess that if you can say that is a problem, that is the problem. The way that cities are organized so monofunctional buildings and neighborhoods and a huge dependence on the automobile. And what Todd's trying to bring is a city that works more or less this way that we are seeing. So we have different models, we have people, we have social interaction, we have less carbon emission, we have several things that I'm going to explain and try to explain further. Actually, Todd is characterized by main features, and that, as I said, these features are measurable. And basically, we can say that 4 principles that we can use to manage and to configure a tool that can help us to design a city based on Todd. It's transit accessibility, what means that I need to have proximity to transit stops and transit hubs. Walkability, so I need to make and to provide proximity to a very to some amenities and a kind of urban services. Diversity, so it's not more about a monofunctional building or a monofunctional neighborhood, but I have to know how to distribute these kind of things and when and where to put them. And also it's also about density, because we need to know that some models need a quantity of people to support that. So as I said, Todd is a multivariate. It's multivariate dependent. So we can relate Todd with, of course, some kinds of features that you can measure and you can program and you can evaluate and assess, and that's what I'm trying to do. We've got a few pictures on Portuguese, but these are principles of Todd. So we need mixed use, compacity, traffic calming, public transport, walking, cycling, and connecting. That's what it's about. And we also have 2 different things. The traditional model of configuring cities, the sprawling. So you've got the dependence of the car, and usually the cities are not walkable or very walkable. What Todd tries to do also is to put this distance smaller and in a way that we can reach things and we can share the city and have social interactions. And the approach that we're trying to do and that I'm going to present is a kind of experiment that we programmed in the determinate area, how to distribute the position of things, what are you going, the network of streets, the blocks and lots. I'm going to present exactly this approach, so I'm not going to stop here at each step. The first question that we worked on Grasshopper and also in Galapagos was to work on area, as long as I work on area, to script something that can give me a very different arrangement of settings of blocks, streets, and lots. And then optimization tools allow you to think, oh, what is the most, what's the optimum organization for that? So we had an area, and the first thing was to divide this area in a size that would be suitable for a Todd implementation. and we used an algorithm that used Voronoi diagram. So we had these three configurations, and we worked on one of them as a pilot, and that's it that I'm going to show the approach based on it. So the first thing, just to illustrate here, the optimization interface of Galapagos. And here are the question. Here's the question. Which arrangement of blocks and streets, I mean, the size of streets and the length and width of the blocks will give me the smaller average distance between all blocks and the station. So we have here three examples. The first one, when I use 80, a block that has 80 per 90 and 15 width of streets, it gives us 50 and 50, 100, 30 average distance. And then we try to work on other contexts. So we have this tree arrangement, but the third one was the optimum. So when I work when 62 and 65 blocks, or a block that has this measure, with a 12 street width, I have an average distance that is the optimum. So this arrangement gives me more proximity between the station and all the blocks, despite of the others. Yeah.
Can you make a question?
Yeah, of course.
It's you have some limitations on the sizes.
Yeah.
At some point, it's not functional or it's too small.
Yeah. The bottom is 60, and the maximum was something about 200.
And similar for the width of the
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any restriction about rotation?
No, there is no restriction. Actually, we worked on a yeah, orthogonal. So here we have three of the options, but in optimization we worked on 180. Okay. So once we've got the best arrangements, the best settings for blocks, what we tried to do was to use walk score to think about how and where to position the amenities. What's walk score? That's a good question to do and a good answer to give. Walk score is something that helps us to measure the walkability of a certain place. It measures if I'm according to the distance that I have to some services, some amenities, they give me a walk score. Then if I have something about 90 and 10 of score and 100, I have a walker's paradise. That's something good. If I'm between 70 and 89, it's very walkable, and it's decreasing because now. So the optimization tools worked on help us to position, or where do I position the educational blocks? And this was the setting, the optimum setting, as well for food, for retail, entertainment, recreation. And you may ask, but why these categories? These categories are from walk score, the walk score concept. And then we have to know what was the distribution of blocks, of lots. And optimization tools helped us to know how we would divide the blocks. It's the measure of the blocks was an optimization arrangement. So, and then we could start to measure the walk score of each block of each lot. If we have a green color, it's 100. It's very good. It's excellent. If we have a red color, it's 80, but it's still very good. So we have the educational walk score, the food one, the retail, entertainment, and recreation. And most important, the final walk score. And then what we've tried to do is to work on how to distribute the density. So according to the proximity to the station, I had taller buildings. So if you look to this point, I start to calculate the topological distance, and in function of it, I have a building that's some kind of tall. If I'm on another place, it has another. And if I do this for all, I get this kind of thing. So I can determine the density by managing and changing parameters of proximities or this kind of stuff. And also a thing that's important, and I'm also working on that is to know how some kind of density can support some kinds of models. So I have this one of 77. I guess it's not the more up-to-date data, but we have here to local bus, minimum of stops and a distance, and that I need to have 10 housing units per hectare. If I'm working on light metro, I need 22.5. Then we can manage the system in a way that if I have metro, or if I have bus, or if I have other kind of model, I can change the way the density and the distribution goes. And I also can imagine how to distribute the functions. So working places, living places, and what's the ratio that that I'm going to use. Then we have different organizations for that. And then we've got some kind of results. And the most important, when we get the results, we go back to the principles that we've mentioned. So transit accessibility, we've got excellent transit accessibility, an excellent walkability, an articulated density that supports subway, and we have the diversity of the block, of the neighborhood, of the blocks and of the neighborhood, managed by the parametrically controlled system that we've made. Of course, it's a starting point. We've got a lot of things to work on and to improve, and that's what I'm here to do. Thank you.
I really need to speak because it's really my type of life. I just have a basic question. I'm talking about the imaginary thought because I believe that this is not thoughts are supposed to be retrofitting areas that already exist and taking advantage of the public transport network that exists. And I believe that you focus on a kind of imaginary thought that you're going to build from scratch. that's not very useful. So I would say it's, why not, get a place, a real place in Rio or whatever, and try to apply the same rules. And see how do you change that place.
Yeah.
That is the first basic question. Second thing, for you to consider, codes are not all the same. So you cannot build this. You're not going to propose the same thing for a station that is close to the city center or a station that is the end station of the network. You need to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
I can give you some literature on that. So, because it depends on the supply, the public transport supply that you have there, you're going to put more functions.
Yeah.
If you are in the city center, you can have really high dense places, lots of jobs and housing. But if you're saying in the end of the line, then you need to reach the balance, but the balance is different.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that you look at the thing that is called the node place model. I can send you some pictures about that.
Yeah. I would appreciate.
You classify the stations according to their node in the meaning of their place within the public transport network, and then you try to match the place function. The place is all these things that you okay.
Yeah.
So these are basically two main things that I would say. First, I think it's more interesting because, to be honest, if you do all of this in an imaginary thought, it's not useful.
Yeah.
It's not very useful because I cannot do anything about it. I'm just seeing the rules that we know. That place is mixed use. That's in a kind of imaginary place. But we have real problems to solve in Lisbon, in Rio, in everywhere. So in the United States, it's very common. So if you try to do this, looking at a kind of a real situation, I think it's more interesting. Then some kinds of, I have some details for you. First, I think you're confusing transit accessibility with connectivity. Different things. So transit accessibility, you have to look to transit. You're not looking to transit, just looking at the access to the station. So the access to the station is connectivity. And of course, if you want high connectivity, you end up with very small blocks because it's the better way not to have, you sit closer, you can have to the hypotenuse.
Yeah.
That's what we want. So if you have really low blocks, you're going to have big, people making it. So that's connectivity. It's very important, but it's not really
okay.
And then the second thing that you might consider is that change is the same, even looking at connectivity, is that you're looking just at the street lines, how do you say? HCD, roads, center lines. Yeah, so you're looking at street center lines, but if you should try to draw the pedestrian network. That's different. Yes, sidewalks on the lines. And because one of the things that we defend in terms of TOD or TOD is that you can have a different connectivity for pedestrians and cars. So what you've shown us is a very good connectivity for cars. That is also good connectivity for pedestrians. But I can have good connectivity for pedestrians and not promoting good connectivity for cars. For instance, if I have a pedestrian network that goes through the blocks, so pedestrians can cross the blocks, but cars cannot. So you end up reaching the station faster than if you were driving. So that's a good way. It's a good way to promote people to walk. It's just a detail, but if you can manage to try to have the pedestrian, because you're just looking at one. I mean, if you were looking at the entire Rio de Janeiro, I wouldn't be saying that. Because you're looking at the kind of just a small area, if you could try to, even if it's like in a semi-automatic way, try to draw the pedestrian network, like where you have zebras to cross, you end up having a different result.
Yeah.
Regarding walk score, I think it's good that you're using walk score, but walk score is very highly criticized in terms of in academic world. So walk score is very good. It's a wonderful tool, a web tool. It became very popular because they associated walk score with real estate in the United States. So there's a paper from the 1990s or already 2000 something. It says, well, places with higher walk score, the houses are more expensive. Well, yeah. That's good. So that's why it becomes very popular. Everybody wants a high walk score near the house. The problem about walk score are two. One is this one that I'm talking about. So they don't say nothing about the pedestrian network. They use road center lines to measure walk score. That's a problem for everybody that studies walkability, like I do. Yeah? So what about the sidewalk itself, the conditions to walk? And even in the United States, I don't know if you've been there, but there's lots of streets in the United States you don't have sidewalks, or you just have one sidewalk in one side of the street, you don't have on the other one. So using road center lines is really, it's not really giving you a real feeling about the walkability of the place. And the second thing is that they don't say nothing or just a little bit about green areas. And so in the end, your project is very dense. There's no parks for people to go. Yeah. And that's because they're using walk-score. So you're incorporating the problems of walk-score. So I would suggest you to not to stop using walk-score, but be a little bit creative and adapt walk-score, incorporating other functions and other things that can be useful and will give you a better result. That's it. This is my main thanks.
Thank you very much.
But you're doing a good job. I mean, I just tried. My major suggestion would be the second segment, the two first things that I told you. So don't consider that all laws are the same because they're not.
Yeah.
And second, if you could have this say solution applied to a real situation where you can say this has to be demolished, this has to be changed. Maybe some things don't have to be changed, just residential, and you say, well, I'm going to put some services there, and it's going to be more TOD.
Yeah.
There's also a paper about TOD-ness. I don't know if you came across an American guy that tries to make a little bit like you're doing. So the TOD-ness of the place. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I left Rio with a kind of task. Thoughtness. I left Rio, and my supervisor told me, you have a task to develop a tool to work on a existing place, not above. That's very good, very good. Thank you very much.
Just a few comments. Well, I gave the word to David because it's really his specialties. Anyway, regarding the computational approach, I'm sure that if you would have more iterations using the optimization procedure, you would get to your lower limitations of the system, meaning that if the lower values that you could give to the log size is 60, then if you would iterate it, till infinite number of times, the result would be 60 per 60. Okay, I'm sure about that for the same reason that David told you. What does that mean? It means every time you use an optimization algorithm, you have to think about what's going there inside, and you have to think about if your assumptions are going to force a result or not. Okay, many times it works that way. So don't use it as a thing that brings you results for sure. It might not. It's more useful when you have a multivariable system because it's more difficult for us to calculate what would be the result. But still, because in these situations where we can easily foresee the result, we can sometimes figure out that some stuff is not probably right. Imagine if you're working with a lot of variables and you cannot even have an idea of what will be the outcome. But if you're making any mistake on the assumptions, you will have a wrong result.
Yeah.
Okay? And there's a sentence by Herbert Simon which is very interesting. He says that any simulation is as good as the assumptions put into it. Okay? This means if the assumptions are correct, the result is correct. Okay?
Yeah.
So be aware of that because I'm actually bumping into a lot of papers. It happened to me many times, reviewing papers that bring wrong assumptions, and you can figure out that the result is not
wrong results, and the wrong results are outcomes of wrong assumptions. Usually, that is the problem.
Can I add on the optimization? Because I have noticed that you are doing like a linear optimization, first optimizing like one thing, then on top of like next thing, then next thing. And I think this is the problem of using Galapagos because it only allows you to do like one objective. But what you actually do is a multi-objective optimization and multidisciplinary. So I would suggest using like a different software. And well, I have there's a software called Frontier, and actually I have a plugin for that. So if you would like to use it, and it allows like really multidisciplinary optimization and with a lot of analysis. So yeah, so if you would like to use that one, you can ask them to give the student license because we should be good. And I have a plugin which connects it to Casper, and I think it would help because Galapagos is really limited.
Yeah, it's Octopus?
No, it's Mode Frontier.
Mode Frontier?
Yeah, it's a separate software which is like completely used for like mostly aerospace optimization.
Oh, very.
Yeah, but for like financial
Okay.
Just to reinforce a bit that we already talked about it, it's, what I missed there was the green spaces.
Yeah.
And so on. And in fact, this is not an option. This should be this should be something that will fit somewhere in the city. So what I'm missing there is the connections to the existing roadway. That will be a strong limitation on the optimization because you should not optimize the streets without thinking about what are the streets that are there already. So even if this is a project for a new neighborhood, okay, we have an empty space in the middle. You have also always to, if you want to optimize it freely, you should not look only to local optimization. Space Impact uses lots of that idea and gives you an idea
about including buffer.
Well, the city is about global and about local. And if you have your space to be connected, not only through transit or something with the global, you have to think about global connections, okay, transit to main streets, something like that. And then you can optimize for local on the walkability and the distance walking. That should be the local logic. The transit logic is always global. So I'm missing that constraints. You should have think about constraints where you have inputs that should be the structure that exists, and you have to connect with sewage, transit, etc. And you have to have that in consideration. That will block you in some way, at least on the global streets, for instance.
Just another small detail. The transit itself sometimes it's a barrier. You're assuming it's a kind of a subway station, or what's your station? What's your transit?
Subway.
Okay.
Subway.
Because often, for instance, in South America now it's becoming very popular to do TODs with the bus rapid transit. I think it's a very good idea. So
yeah.
You need a bus. You need space for the bus. You need a main avenue. So this strict hierarchy has to be present somehow. So that's what Vitor was telling me. That, yeah. For instance, with train, we know that it's very good to make a train-oriented station, but the train itself, the track, is often a barrier. So you end up having two areas, and you need to connect them. Pedestrian-wise, maybe not quite otherwise.
Okay.
But I guess if you go to a real situation, you end up finding all of this.
Yeah. Okay, we have 10 minutes for coffee break. Okay.
Yeah.